I begrudgingly tip.
You know, you didn't do anything.
There's not actually any service taking place, like Starbucks, for example.
Expectations can skew performance. If you come to work to work.
Giving a tip before you actually know how good the drink is feels a little weird.
I'll just send the food back.
Ladies and gentlemen, today I have the most intense, crazy topic you're ever gonna hear in your life. Tipping culture. I'm just kidding, but tipping culture is a huge debate right now in Canada and America. It's becoming this unsaid thing that just when you sit down, you have to tip. Sometimes servers expect to get tipped. People don't like that very much. You'll hear from different age groups, young, old, everybody in between. So let me know what you think in the comments. But first, here's a question I want you to think about the whole video. Would you rather pay more for your food, not be asked to tip, or pay less for your food and be able to give a tip? Let me know in the comments down below. Enjoy. Do you tip?
I do, I'm Canadian.
Okay.
I do tip, but I begrudgingly tip.
See, that's becoming...
I'm generous,
Yeah.
but I do it begrudgingly.
Always.
Always?
Yeah, absolutely.
You tip?
Yeah.
Do you tip, Gabrielle?
Yes.
Do you feel like it has to be really bad service to not tip?
Yeah.
Like intentionally bad service almost?
Yeah. Even if the food's bad, I'll just send the food back.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's not like you won't necessarily just, like you'll still tip even if the food's bad because the server's good? Or
It's not the server's fault, it's the cook's fault.
do you think tipping culture has gone too far?
You're at a restaurant, yes, you give a tip, but if I go to Appliables and you know, you didn't do anything, you just gave me the sundae or whatever, then no.
I do think it's getting a bit silly when it's like counter serve, where there's not actually any service taking place, like Starbucks, for example.
I mean, like, you know, if I'm at like Dairy Queen or something like that and they're asking for a tip, it's a little bit different. However, I do think it's important to invest in your community.
Right.
You know.
You still want the person serving you to be paid fairly and to be having a good time, but I also, at some point, you have to draw
When
a
you're
line.
paying $7 for a drink, I don't know.
And you know that $7 isn't going to a small business, right? Like it's going to Starbucks.
Okay, what's your thoughts?
I think giving a tip before you actually know how good the drink is feels a little weird. I feel like you should be tipping based upon if this was really good, if they did a good job. But then it's like, okay, how much of a tip do you want to give?
Right.
And you have no idea.
Do you think that the server should always expect a tip? Let's look at like just restaurant in general. Let's say you're going to, I don't know, Boston Pizza. Should they expect that tip?
Well, I mean, expectations can skew performance. So I think it's important to, if you come to work, and then everything will fall into place from there.
When I'm providing a service and somebody pays me, the tip it's always appreciated. It's not expected as like a necessity. I appreciate it, but it's, you know, different people, different choices.
So some of you might watch this video and be like, what's my opinion on tipping culture? I don't know. I mean, I would just expect at this point, because of society and where it's at right now, the cost of living so high, that you should just be expected to tip in most cases. What the one gentleman said from the States was, well, expectations skew performance, and that's totally more than fair. Like, I just think at the end of the day, as a server, you shouldn't expect the tip. But I also have sympathy for the restaurant owner because most of them, their margins are next to nothing. So they got to serve 100 people before they can even break even on the first 2 hours. I don't think the restaurant owner can just increase the wage, and increasing minimum wage just isn't realistic. We can't just do that all the time. That being said, you know, if you give good service, you should get a tip. Gabriella, on the side of the customer, do you always feel expected to tip? Like, do you feel like there's like this unsaid pressure, this unsaid thing?
I mean, I do in a way. Like, yeah, I do feel like I usually, even if the service is not great, I'll probably usually tip at least like 15% anyway.
I would say almost everywhere. Like, so Starbucks is still the one place I'll hold back at Starbucks because of that, where I'm like, Starbucks does not need this.
If I'm agreeing to go sit down somewhere, then I'm expecting the service, which I'm completely ready to tip for.
Okay, so my biggest question, would you rather pay less and be asked to tip, almost expected to tip, or would you rather pay more on the menu, knowing that the servers maybe get an extra $1 an hour, but you don't tip? Think about the servers in this case. What would they prefer? What would you prefer as the customer? Comment down below.
Less and pay more.
Really?
Yeah.
I disagree.
I don't feel like it should be like mandatory to tip. Like if I went to a restaurant and I got a bill and they just added a tip on there without asking, that would piss me off.
I'd say if it's a situation where you know everybody's being compensated for their work fairly and everything, then you have an option. If you feel like it was sort of above and beyond, you can leave extra money if you feel like it or whatever. They have their job that pays what they need, and then if they do well, somebody gives them some extra money. Yeah.
I think I'd rather pay less for my food and be given the option, because there's situations where people really go above and beyond. I'd want to be able to reward them for that.
If your product is priced at a fair price, then I'm going to be more inclined to tip more.
Thanks so much for watching this video. A little bit of my personal story. You heard from my walk and talk, little rant there that Ryan will probably show you. For me, I used to be a fish and chips server, having to run up and down stairs. I remember working like 3 or 4 hours. I was around 12 years old, and I make about 75 bucks in tips. But I knew that it had to be good service. I think that's the biggest thing that people care about. We have no problem tipping. I have no problem tipping, but just give me good service. That being said, I also respect that there's a cost of living crisis. Things are more expensive, and servers aren't making more than minimum wage in most cases. So I completely understand both sides of the situation. Maybe we can find a happy balance where everybody just kind of contributes. Do you think we're actually at that happy balance today? There's nothing to fix? Or do you think we have to make an adjustment? Leave a comment down below. I'll make sure to respond to it in a video. Let me know your thoughts. Have a great day.